Welcome to the segment for Level 2 Certified Educator. Now, in the previous video on this page, I talked a little bit about creating a multimedia text set. And I created a text set from a template or an example that was already out on the web. And there are many that you can find out at hyperdocs.co. But how do you create one from scratch? I mean, it's just you and Google Docs. How do you go from there? How do you accomplish that? Well, one way to do it is just come up here to New, go to Google Docs, and you basically have, I guess, the blank page that you have to work with. So you'll probably want to create or pick a topic that you want to explore, and I'm just going to create one on professional learning communities. So it's going to take me a little bit as I work through this and just do some of the formatting. Um, Now, let me see. I want to add a picture to that. So I'm going to go to Google and just do a quick search on professional learning communities. Now, I like to go to Google and do an image search and then come over here to the tools and usage rights and choose labeled for reuse. And that's going to give me a picture that I can drop in that while I can choose to cite, I don't necessarily have to. Because of the Creative Commons license. These pictures have been shared with the intent that they can be reused. I think it's good practice to cite your pictures no matter where you get them, no matter what the license. But again, these are possible options. So I can see there's a lot of content here, and some of it is going to be relevant, some of it just isn't. I'm going to jump and grab this one, and you can see that this is a transparent picture. I don't know if it shows up well in the video, but this picture actually has sort of a checkerboard background. When you run into a picture that has a checkerboard background, that usually means that it has a transparent background. It will assume whatever the color of the background that you use. So if you paste it onto a page that has a dark background, that's what will fill in the spaces. Now, as you probably noticed, my untitled document is a white page. I haven't gone into File, Page Setup, and changed the page color to something like maybe light blue or something. But it's very easy to do that, and you can take a picture like this. It's called Community of Inquiry, and I'm going to come here and just quickly grab the link and add it to my page. Maybe put it on page 2. And I just keep it very simple. I put where it was available, and there we go. I've got a reference for that. Now I'm ready to insert this picture. I'm going to go to Insert Image and upload it from my computer. So there's Community of Inquiry. And again, this is just really a decorative picture. I'm not going to be teaching to it necessarily or anything like that. Now, the next thing that I want to do is, for this multimedia text set, is include some directions. Actually, I like to have a quote. So what would my quote be about? So again, I'm just going to do a quick search. See, I got a quote from Mike Schmoker. It says, "Collaboration allows teachers to capture each other's fund of collective intelligence." I like that. So I'm going to say, I wonder why this is happening. I must have a page break in there. So collaboration allows teachers to capture each other's fund of collective intelligence. Mike Schmoker. Okay. Now that I have that quote there, I'm ready to actually create my multimedia text set. So I'm going to drop in a table, and this is just going to be a simple two column table. And I've only put in 3 rows because I can come to the end of my table and just press tab, and it's going to give me a fresh piece. So usually what happens is that on this side you put in text or media to teach, and then my reflections or takeaways, or maybe what I learned. It's up to you. I like to keep it a little bit more specific. For example, media to teach and maybe what I learned. It's important to do that, especially to put in reflections, so that way people will know what to do. So for the directions, I'm going to say, please interact with media in column 1 and share your reflections, what you learned, in column 2. And I don't necessarily need that to be anything special, so I'm just going to use my standard Arial and make it smaller. So now I have the beginning of my multimedia text set, and I don't know if you noticed that, but Google automatically put in professional learning communities. What are they? Because that was in my that's the first line of my page, and I like to add MMTS colon right there at the top. Okay, now I'm ready to actually try to put what I want people to learn. So I guess this would raise the question, what are the key elements of a professional learning community that I want others to pick up on? Well, I think one of them is pedagogical knowledge, or let me just say skills and knowledge about how we teach. And I don't care for the fancy font in the middle of the table. I'm just going to make it about size 12. Um, I guess skills and knowledge about what we teach. So I guess this one is pedagogy, and this one's content. Ooh, I'm starting to see a pattern here. Maybe and maybe how strategies to improve student learning. So now what I want to do is actually find 3 resources that are going to sort of exemplify those 3 areas. So I probably want to have something that students can view, maybe a video. Um, a way for them to read about content or interact with content. And then the last piece here is explore evidence-based instructional strategies. Now I could make this multimedia text set a lot longer, but again, my goal here is really to show you how I would make one from scratch. So let's say I'm looking for a picture that's going to represent pedagogy. Again, I want to make sure that I'm using something that um, can be that is not necessarily copyrighted, or if it is copyrighted, it's set up to be used. Now, I've used Google search already, and I've sort of modeled how to do that, but you may not be aware that there are other ways to find pictures, and one of them is to come up here to insert image, and one of the choices that I have is to insert image from a web search. So I can do a web search and type in pedagogy, and automatically these images, you can see that these are very similar to the ones that actually came up. There's the what is innovative pedagogy, there it is. Here's that mind map on ICT and pedagogy. Again, it's right there. Here's another one. So this search that I do, this label for reuse, is virtually identical to me coming out here and actually typing that. Isn't that amazing? So it's kind of cool to be able to quickly do that search. So all I want to do is find a simple picture that's going to represent pedagogy. What does this mean? Well, I like that pixel cell, so I'm going to copy that picture and drop it right in. Because that picture had a transparent background, you can see that it came right in and showed up. It assumed the color, or took on the color of the background. Now, to find a video about pedagogy, that might be a little bit more difficult. Let me see what I can find. Oh, there we go. What is pedagogy? Here's some gentleman from 2011 who's going to sort of share some ideas. Here's one on essential learning theories.
What is pedagogy, and why should teachers care?
Don't know. Let's find out. So this could be a video that will provide a nice intro to that. Now, sometimes you might want to add like a thumbnail picture that represents some key content in the video. And so here's a nice chart that sort of jumps out. What I do is I use a screen capture tool. In this case, I'm using Lightshot, and it allows me to do some interesting annotations and things like that. I can draw squares or rectangles around everything. I can copy it and paste it. I've now copied that, and I can come back here and say, you know what, this picture is better suited to the content one, and I'm going to use this picture to represent a thumbnail for pedagogy. And then you can see what happens is it actually drops that in, and now I'm able to work on that. Okay, now let's see, I want to find some let me see, primary sources. Okay, here's a list of some primary sources for American history. It really doesn't matter at this point what those are. I'm just going to go ahead and I tend to bold my links so that they stand out a little bit more. And then the last thing I want to share here is, let's see, John Hattie strategies. And I'm looking for maybe a video, visible learning strategies in the classroom. Okay, so this is a video. It's about 3 minutes and 48 seconds. I can come back in and watch video about. And so there we go. Now, there, if I wanted to, I'm pretty sure I could come up here to insert. It's not there. So on Google Slides, you're able to actually come up and insert a video. In Google Docs, that's not a possibility. So the best that you can do is to take a snapshot of some part of the video and then link that video, or link that snapshot. So if I want to link this picture, I can press Control K on my keyboard or Command K if I'm on a Mac, or I can come up here to insert a link and then paste in the link. And what I now have is this is actually a clickable picture, and so people will see this when they click on the picture. That can be a little confusing, so you might also want to include a text link that says view this video. Now I noticed that my multimedia text set is actually spanning 2 pages, and I really want it all on 1 page. So that tells me I probably have too much space given to the title and all of that. So I'm going to adjust it to 14. Maybe make this just a little bit bigger. There we go. And if I have extra space in a table, it shows up like that, and it looks like an extra row, but if I just press delete, that will disappear. There's my references page. I want to make sure I give it the same kind of treatment as my title. And I now have a multimedia text set that I can share with others. What I like to do is when I go to share something, I like to make sure that it is going to be available to anyone with a link. And then what I do is create a tiny URL. Now you may not want to use tiny URL, you may want to use bit.ly or something else, but when you paste in the link, make sure that you change the word edit to copy. And the reason for that is that when you share that link, it's going to require people to make their own copy of the document. So I'm going to call this, I always put my initials, so I put MGPLC MMTS. If that's too much for you, you could just say MMTS PLC and then click on Make Tiny URL. It'll tell you if that alias is not available and then give you the chance to do it again. So if I put MG in front of it, chances are it's going to take. Okay, so there we go. I have this. I can copy that, come back to my page, and if I insert a header or footer, maybe a footer, get your own copy. There we go. And then I can make it, size 0.9. I now have a footer on my pages, and there's a multimedia text set created from scratch.